Hey guys, AI doesn't make you a professional. It makes you a louder version of who you already are. My name is Nazar, and I'm here to talk about what I see happening in the field and how I'm positioning myself with future that's upcoming, and how I'm rethinking and imagining all the systems that are happening in my life. But before we go anywhere, why don't we, go back to the fact that AI doesn't make you a professional? What do I mean that AI doesn't make you a professional? It actually just makes a louder version of whoever you already are. And if you don't know your craft or whatever you're doing and you're trying to use AI, all it does, it just amplifies that you are an amateur, not an expert. I want to show you exactly what I mean and why most people have this completely backwards. So, what are we all told? We are all told that AI is a great equalizer. Use it and you're ahead. That's at least the promise that everyone says. But the problem is that it is like trying to drink from a fire hose. Every week, new tools, every week, new workflows, every week, new frameworks. It's just impossible to keep up. So, and the honest truth that I see is that most people don't even know where to start with this overload because they were not there from the beginning to see how this whole space moved in. Not that it's their fault, but they were not there to see how it evolved. And so where they do start is from a chat window. It might be simpler, or this is where everyone is talking about, or this is what you heard, so that's where you go. And it does feel like a progress. I'm not here to tell you it's wrong, but I'm here to show you what is actually missing. And the window is collapsing. I know it's a big thing and this window is collapsing, but really the gap between people who understand AI deeply and those people that think of it as just a chatty window really is growing fast. And it's growing so fast that I don't know if it's ever going to be bridged, because the bridge has just not been built that fast, or it's just not been built at all at this point. People who have been working with AI since 2022, they are already not just few steps ahead, they're operating in a completely different level. And it's not like this gap is, will close it by itself. It's also compounding. And the problem when you're gonna see is because the gap compounds, how are you trying to compete with those people? People that are, ahead, they are using AI to learn faster, to, build faster, to think clearer, which means that they can get further and further ahead every week. And the window to close the gap is not infinite. Like, it's not going to be sitting here and waiting for you just to go in. This is not a panic mode, so I just want to be making sure that no one is panicking. That's more of a calibration statement, because solution to this is not actually to start using more AI. The solution to this is something most people don't get it entirely or skip it. And the real trap that I see is people pick an AI tool before they master their own domain. So, as an example, let's go to your inbox. Pull up your inbox, find an email that sounds polished, professional, full of, confident language. But read it carefully. Read it maybe once, maybe twice. I'm not saying every email in your email box, but read it from people that you actually know when you talk to them or you spoke with them for so long, and now they're sending you emails. Do they sound like they, or this is sounding strange? You know, as I said, polished, confident, structured, but there is no substance behind it. And there's no real answer, there's no solution, just a shape of a professional response. That's as best as I can explain. And unfortunately, this is the amplified amateur that I'm talking about. Someone who uses AI to sound better than their thinking actually is. This is what I'm going to be talking later on, but this is a big thing that I used to do over the years before even AI, but now I can say it's called metacognition, is thinking how you think, uh, because it things changed and you cannot approach it the same way. But we'll talk about it later. And I see it consistently. People, and the person that the funny thing is that the person that is sending this email, they think that they look sharp, they look like exactly a professional should look. But the problem is they pretty much look like someone that knows how to use a prompt to create something, but it doesn't have an underlying experience behind it. So AI is a multiplier, and multipliers, they don't add, they really multiply. So just to drive it home again, if you're a pro in something, they will see it. If you don't know anything, just be careful with it, because it will just show that you don't know. And kind of like what I said, if you multiply it by 0, you get 0. But if you really know your craft, oh, something's beautiful coming, something's dangerous, And this is the actual question that I wanted to ask when I was leading here. People need to ask themselves, what are they bringing to the table before they touch AI? Don't think about that you have to throw into AI and AI will bring it to the table. It's actually different. You have to bring it in. And what I mean by that is, as a quick example, I remember when I started with everything, and the first aha moment was actually when we were getting the emails, right? And you were like, you throw in and you're like, ooh, this is awesome. But then, like, for example, now what I do is, especially I still use, so I'm not gonna say that I don't use it, but I have specifically trained systems that I use for my any type of specific work. So as an email, I have an email AI, let's say, trained in a way that it sounds more like me. It sees my patterns because it sees I did tell my emails. I say what I like to do, what I don't like to do. And what I actually do is I craft an email, I send it to the agent. Agent just tries to, adjust it to make sure it sounds, polished and consistent. And, I don't just fire it back. I reread it, and sometimes I go back and forth with it, especially if it's a very important email. I just want to make sure it sounds fantastic. It sounds to the point, professional, with all the context and everything. And this is what I was talking about earlier, metacognition. Thinking about how you think. You don't think about it all. You throw it in and just gives you back a good copy. No, you think about it as a collaboration. You're asking what you need to do, and then it does it. Because I just, as a test, I threw in an email just to generic AI, and I'm not going to say names because each AI system can perform bad or good, depends how you're going to train it. And I got the feedback, and I'm like, oh, this is just horrible. So I don't use it, right? I only use it in a very specific scenarios, and in a very those specific scenarios, I use my own trained AI. So what am I? Who am I? I do have about more than 20 years, you can say, dabbling in IT. Since I was 13, I was building, rebuilding, always, thinking how you can use the conventional ways in unconventional ways. I now, everything that I know, I also was compounding and learning a lot from the other fields. But it was really tough to glue everything together, because you really needed to have a lot of cognitive capacity to put in all really those things. But now with AI, I can do those things. So now I'm rebuilding everything. My professional systems, my personal systems, my family systems, and AI is this operational system, the operational layer. But I just want to be clear. I'm not here to say that I'm, here to replace everything or everyone. I'm just more integrating it, not to run my life, but to help me run my life. Very big distinguishment. I'm not a tool reviewer, so I'm going to tell you right away. I don't care what's trending this week. I concentrate on something that I think the big players will be in a game for who knows how long, and I go with it. But obviously, if there are new tools coming up that somehow they are fantastic, I'll be showing it how I'm using. What I do care about is building the systems that actually work across all the domains of life, not just work. I really mean all the domains. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be documenting those builds honestly, including when things break. Because what I see a lot of people, they show you how it's like boom, 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 prompted, send it, and it's just like boom, it works. But then you're sitting in trying to replicate it and you're having this problem, or your web server is not starting up and blah blah blah, this is not working, stuff like that, because lots of things were edited. And the concept that I'm building everything around, I know it sounds, maybe cliche, but that's the best way to describe it, is the AI augmented human. The idea is that in my mind, that's how I see it, that's my personal stance, and I hope each of you who is watching will build their own, because this will be something that will help you to move into the future. No one really knows what's going to happen. Some people do have a much better, predictions, but no one knows for sure. So I do suggest building your own understanding and, constantly educating yourself and evolving, because you'll see just how beautiful it is. And what I think about AI is not just as a replacement, it's more about an exoskeleton. Just go in and watch Iron Man and don't think about the Jarvis, because everyone thinks about the Jarvis, the system that runs. Really think about the actual, the suit, because that's how I see it more. I want to be having systems that I can control and they can help me out. Like run my life, remove this whatever cognitive load I have or stuff like this. And the only way it's gonna work, really, if you will know how to wear it and how to use it. So, going back, now I'm gonna be building around 4 pillars of my life, which is professional, mind, self, and family. In professional, I will be building a system. I will be building AI systems that create leverage. I don't want to. I'm not going to tell you here. I'm going to build a system that does this and or sorts my emails and stuff like. No, I'm specifically concentrated more metacognition about systems that will help me to create a leverage, whatever it is. I'm not trying to solve a specific task. I'm trying to build a system to solve a problem, two different things. And then I'm going to be going into mind metacognition, as I mentioned before. But jumping back to professional, just to give a quick glimpse, for example, I am spinning up a lot of virtual machines at home when I'm testing and I'm building things and, you name it. And instead of having, a notes and that I will have specific scripts how to harden the Linux server or whatever I'm using, what I do is I created an agent for myself, or a skill, you can say. Right now, I'm mostly living with Claude. Again, we'll see what the future will bring, but I created a skill where I specifically tell, hey, don't just, give me the steps to harden it, but these are the steps I use. But what I do is I'll say, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is the server I'm building. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then it builds up everything around my guidelines for that specific case. So this is how I'm trying not to harden the server, but harden the specific machine that I'm trying to build in the future, whatever it's going to be, right? Again, don't want to take people too deep into the rabbit hole. It's not just going to be about IT and stuff like this. Just more as an example. Mind metacognition. Really, I want to start thinking about how we think and how we approach the problems. So as you can see, this will be more about this type. I'll be more on slides, schematics, and stuff like this, because I truly believe, and I actually will honestly say this, that throughout last probably 10 years, this is what I was doing. I was not concentrating on a very specific skill of how to do it. I was more concentrated on a framework and what has to happen. And then I was figuring out how to make it happen. So this is the big one that I obviously will be pushing for. Then the next one will be self. So using a data and systems, across your health and body. This is not about self-medicating and stuff like this, so I'm saying right away, but actually understanding your, body and health, and how I am approaching to get a local, you can say a database. Don't think about it, this will be something crazy and stuff like this, but really a database, not a glorified notepad that I can privately have, and I can put my data there. So let's say if I'm connecting some agent or whatever new solutions will come up, they will have things there and they can see. Instead of constantly trying to say, hey, this is what I have, and go crazy every time you need to start a conversation. So they just can connect, and then we can start having conversations. And if that conversation is bringing something that I should add to my knowledge base, it just will write to it. And then the family. Family is really important. Pretty much all of those skills are super important. They're 25% each of my life. But the family, you have to understand nowadays. I remember when everyone was, when the crypto boom was, and everyone's like, hey, you have to have a Bitcoin because it's a scarce thing and stuff like this. Nothing to talk about crypto here, but in general, the true scarcity is your time, how many years you have, and you don't even know how many years you have, right? So think about that. And not from a bad standpoint that something has to happen, no, but really like think that you don't have you're not going to live 200 years, yeah, right? So so you really want to build the systems that will help you get back the time. And when you're spending the time with your loved ones, you're not in a, what's happening, do I need to check my email? There are systems in place for it, so you can spend an hour, half an hour, 2 hours, whatever, with your loved ones with no problem. And obviously, with everything changing, I'm not going to be relying on just the education system for my son, and I'm going to be building things that I will use for teaching him as well. Kind of like what I did in 13 years. I do hold a university degree, I do hold certification, stuff like this, but the real joy and magic happened when I started dabbling it myself, home labbing, breaking, fixing, trying to come up with things. So those are the four pillars, what I'm going to be going through. And hey, if this is your frequency, you're in the right place. I am glad that you find me and I found you. And I just want to give you a few glimpses into the future. I'm going to be building LifeOS, and I'm going to be building BOS. LifeOS is pretty much the system that is based on those four pillars. I just want to throw it out there. That's my goal. It's not going to be a destination, it's more about the journey, because there will be always coming up new modules, new things. And the way I think it is like, now we build it like this, but maybe in, I build some sort of system, and in a year or so I see there is a new possibilities came out. I'm not just going to leave it. I'm going to rebuild it, rethink it. So as you can see, it's going to be constantly living and growing thing. And BOS is, everyone should know it. as a business operating system. But the way I'm going to be tackling it is I will kind of like set up like a demo business, you can say, and I will walk through all of the systems that are, every business kind of has, and I will show people how you can automate those, so you can see, if you're in a position that can be automated, how to maybe pivot yourself, learn something else from here, and maybe show you a different path. Or if you don't know, let's say, and you're trying to automate something, hey, you'll see what I'm doing, how I'm building, breaking stuff, because I think those are really two important ones. And the next video, what I'm going to do is, I know we spoke about Amplified Amateur, but I'm going to do a deep dive. I just wanted to have it more as an intro video so you guys can see what is it all about, who I am, and what I'm trying to do here. And the next one, I really will go into details. Hopefully, I'm going to see you there. Take care. Peace.